you couldn't find any pundit anywhere on cable news or anywhere else that thought that Hillary Clinton was going to lose to Donald Trump. And so they basically just, their mindset did not comprehend it. And people were sort of lost while a bunch of progressive Democrats were laying infrastructure to try to undermine everything that not only was the Donald Trump presidency, but like even through the justice system, right?
Yeah.
And you saw it, the obvious things that we've talked about now for 3 years.
But like the FBI director going to Trump Tower to see President-elect Donald Trump. Hey, congratulations, Mr. President. I've got this opposition research from Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to tell you that's the provenance of it, but did you pee on a bunch of Russian prostitutes? And then, like, it was a shakedown from day one of Donald Trump. And I just hope everybody who's in this transition for Donald Trump is wiser for knowing what happened the first time.
You have a Republican Party that is in a much different place.
Yeah.
We talked about the punditry being surprised. There was a healthy element of the Republican Party that was surprised that election went as well as it did and was caught, like, flat-footed about it.
Right.
And now, I mean, you started trying to surface stuff that is as thin of gruel as this stuff is. You're going to get a united Republican Party that's like, go yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just a catching strays over here.
You're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you, and welcome back to the Ruthless Variety program. I'm Josh Holmes, comfortably smug. Michael Duncan, John Ashbrook, and Matt McDaniel joins us today, fresh off the campaign trail, where all the good work was being done. And, fellas, you know, I feel like, look, every week we've got a lot to talk about. Another fun week here in Trump's America, don't you think?
It has, I mean, so much winning is just becoming reality.
It is.
It really feels like that.
It does feel like that. We're changing culture.
You see it across the NFL. You see it in UFC. And, I mean, we've got the wind in our sails. Let's capitalize.
Totally. I will say thank you for everybody who has liked and subscribed here on our YouTube channel and left us comments on wherever you get podcasts, because there's an awful lot of you who are now interested in not only the winning election, but what's going to happen. And you've come to the right place.
That's right.
So thank you for all of that. Fellas, we doing all right down there?
Man, we're doing great. Trump is about to be sworn in as president of the United States. He is going to kick the killers and the thieves who came here illegally out of the country. And America is going to be great again.
I love just the based Ashbrook that we get in these days. I mean, it's just like really taking the whole.
Look, man, a lot of people in this country have been concerned about immigration for a very long time, and we finally have a president who's going to do something about it.
Yeah, finally a guilty verdict in that Lake and Riley, murder case.
I mean, if you read anything about it, it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, but like we're finally getting a little bit of justice in America, which feels really good after 4 years of failure and lawlessness.
Yeah,
That's right.
Imagine justice for actual criminals versus your political opponents. It's just like it's turned on a dime. It's just so crazy how that works.
It's a real juxtaposition.
I just liked Holmes. You leading off with welcome to everybody who after they realize who the winning team is joining up. It's welcome to all the bandwagon followers.
We do have. I mean, listen, there are hate listens involved.
I mean, you've made a good choice. Welcome to the bandwagon. It's safe.
We promise you'll feel worse about things after the next hour. But we've got a big lineup for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about the sabotage that's going on. Listen, this administration, the Biden administration, as they're exiting, is going to try to make things as difficult for President Trump as they can. We will explain to you a little bit what you're not going to read in the Washington Post and New York Times about what's happening to try to make life harder for anybody who actually wants a free society under President Trump. We've got, look, there's some cool stuff happening. I think we talked about this several weeks ago about SpaceX and like actual real innovation in America, and the idea that has basically been lost on 2 generations of Americans, that you can actually do big things like in space.
I think part essential to Marxist ideology is like the American dream is dead. And like that's what they've been selling the American people, it feels like, for a generation. And Donald Trump, Elon Musk, all of these people are sort of reigniting the dream.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a real thing. And it's like, it's inspiring as an American, for
Well,
sure.
you watch people hopeful, you know, like it's just a thing that we basically lost during Obama.
Which is
So we have hope and change now. Is what you're saying.
Well, that's and to your point, like that is the grand irony. Is the whole run up to the election, you had Kamala Harris talking doom and gloom, and Donald Trump's going to be a tyrant and a dictator and all these sort of scary things. And in reality, it's like the guy's serving Happy Meals from the window.
Right.
Really, this guy?
But I mean, look, her passion was small business. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of that. But listen, we've got a great variety for you today. You're going to laugh your tails off on what we've got going on, including a King of the Hill game, which I am the champion, and so I will be defending my title. And I feel great about that. Who's judge today?
Smug is judge.
I'm the judge.
Oh, I
And,
like
and I'm
this.
bailiff, and I'm going to be a tough bailiff.
Are you? Well,
Right.
you always have played an activist role.
Well, I just, I want to make sure somebody's watching the stopwatch here.
Yeah, he
Okay.
maintains order.
On extracurriculars.
As long as it's order, I'm
Yes.
fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. So all that and a lot more, but let's start with the sabotage. And you'll recall, look, I mean, when we started with the first Trump administration, it was lost on a lot of people because of the surprise of the election. And, you couldn't find any pundit anywhere on cable news or anywhere else that thought that Hillary Clinton was going to lose to Donald Trump. And so they basically just their mindset did not comprehend it. And people were sort of lost while a bunch of progressive Democrats were laying infrastructure to try to undermine everything that not only was the Donald Trump presidency, but like even through the justice system.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And you saw it, the obvious things that we've talked about now for 3 years were the Russia collusion hoax. Right? We find out at the back end of all that it was complete nonsense,
Yep.
but it captivated a nation for a couple of years that even your sort of fair-minded people, if they just pick up a newspaper, had to be wondering, like, is this real?
Yeah, so I'm really glad you mentioned that, like through, like it wasn't just that they were laying traps legislatively or otherwise, like actual, like law
Yeah.
aspects of this country, investigative aspects of this country, were trying to lay traps for Donald Trump
Like
and the
your
incoming administration.
boyfriend, Jim Comey.
Well, so I mentioned it on Megyn Kelly's show last week, but it's a thing I'm literally
I'm away
never
for
going to
like 2
forget.
months, and this is what happens.
I'm never going to forget this, and I just want to remind people again and again. Thanks to Megyn Kelly for having us on, and I got to do this stem winder, which I obviously love to do. But like the FBI director going to Trump Tower to see President-elect Donald Trump. Hey, congratulations, Mr. President. I've got this opposition research from Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to tell you that's the provenance of it, but did you pee on a bunch of Russian prostitutes? And then, like, it was a shakedown from day one of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And then he goes back down there like the Boy Scout he claims to be and types up all of his notes in the back of his car to try to, like, launch a independent prosecutor effort against Donald Trump to undermine the administration. I just hope everybody who's in this transition for Donald Trump is wiser for knowing what happened the first time and is prepared that all of that is coming back again and it needs to be
When
stopped.
you have a Republican Party, I'll let you go in a second, Ashbrook, but you have a Republican Party that is in a much different place.
Yeah.
We talked about the punditry being surprised. There was a healthy element of the Republican Party that was surprised that election went as well as it did and was caught like flat-footed about it.
Right.
And now, I mean, you started trying to surface stuff that is as thin of gruel as this stuff is. You're going to get a united Republican Party that's like, go fuck yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to point out is that even before President Trump won in 2016 and Jim Comey had that moment, Democrats built a culture under the Obama administration inside of your government that went after people who thought differently. Remember what the IRS did
Lois
to these-
Lerner.
Yeah.
Lois Lerner did to these small Tea Party organizations around the country. She weaponized the IRS against mom and pop nonprofits who were just trying to say something different and build an organization polarization.
We're
in this
talking about
country.
501c4s that maybe raised $5,000
Yeah,
over
they're
a calendar
auditing
year, and they're
them.
getting audited
Yeah.
by the federal government.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been weaponizing our federal government
No
for so
question.
long against conservatives. I'm just so glad we finally get a chance to fight back.
It is kind of wild thinking about transitions. I'm old enough to remember the Clinton to Bush transition, where the biggest scandal was
Take the W.
taking the W's off the
keyboard.
the keyboards, and
That
now
was all their
and now they're
imagination.
weaponizing the DOJ to come
Yeah.
after you and impeach you. The Democrats have upped their game just a little bit.
There's
from,
an escalation there.
from IT problems to literal treason.
Yeah.
Like it's a really big step up.
And Smug always makes the point. It's like Eric Holder presides over some of the largest scandals in DOJ history, historically one of the worst AGs in American history. And then what does he do? He creates a company
An
or a,
organization that basically all they've done is go across the country and try to gerrymander as many House districts as possible.
Right.
So, I mean, Republicans would have such a larger hold on the House if it wasn't for the efforts of this guy who's supposedly this
Oh, he was the Law and
unbiased
Order
attorney
guy.
general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Not interested in partisan politics.
but all that aside, water under the bridge, we're older and we're wiser now.
See, I think that's the thing. Like, if it doesn't kill you, it does make you stronger. And if it didn't kill that administration and now they're back,
Yep.
the rest of us have sort of come into the place where I think, like, everybody's ready here. Everybody's ready. You remember Anonymous?
Yeah.
Remember? So these were op-eds that were published anonymously. Was it New York Times?
It's the lodestar of the administration.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, the
ju-
guy who wrote it has plenty of experience with lodestars. Let me just tell you.
Oh.
That is his OnlyFans, right? It's-
Okay, well, Phil in the audience, you guys are sick. You're sick, I'll tell you.
It's or either that or just mayo. you
Okay,
know?
so in all of these anonymous op-eds that were being published, the backstory is it was like, we are the resistance within Trump's administration. We're going to stop him from starting World War III. And there was this word in all of those articles or whatever, lodestar. And you had all of official Washington and the liberal media being like, I think this is Vice President Mike Pence.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Mike Pence
or
loves the
Ivanka.
word lodestar.
Remember at one
Yeah.
point it was like, no, it's Ivanka.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, she's there sabotaging her father's
And
administration.
turns out it's this like staffer in DHS.
Who's like, I mean, literally the guy could be
Miles
answering-
Taylor.
Oh, that's what it was.
Miles
Right.
Taylor.
You remembered his
And
name.
I forget nothing. That's why I still attack Jim Comey. But Miles Taylor
Halloweens and pandemics.
goes on national television and he straight up gets accused by, I believe, Anderson Cooper
Yeah.
at the time, being like, "Are you anonymous?" And he's like, "Yeah, I only wear masks and Halloweens and pandemics."
I only wear masks in Halloweens and pandemics.
we need
Yeah.
the board back. We need
do.
that for the
Yeah,
board.
that was good.
Yeah.
Halloweens and pandemics. No, I mean it was so bad and so ridiculous and so absurd that the national media would pay attention to a guy who amounted to like a, basically a receptionist. That all of a sudden this dude is controlling a narrative about a president of the United States.
And like you said, the Republican Party is in a different place, but the media is also in a different place. Like MSNBC is essentially bankrupt at this
Yeah.
point, trying to find someone to buy them. Like, they have a choice to make: are they going to do what they did last time with the Russian collusion hoax and all this other nonsense that all these journals got book deals, being like, "Oh yes, Vladimir Putin secretly controls the White House." We found out all that was a lie.
Yeah.
Everything they said was a lie.
They won Pulitzers.
They tried to cash in off of it. Are they going to do the same thing again and further erode the tiny, minuscule amount of trust the American people have?
Yeah,
in
that's
them?
why they're there. That's why they're there, because of all that nonsense. And look, not for nothing, but I know a lot of voters who were Trump skeptical. They loved the policies. They didn't love Trump. That looked at the policies of the last 4 years and were like, I support nothing about the Biden-Harris administration. But they still were struggling about what to ultimately do in the election. And the media campaign against President Trump, just the lead of the evening news was enough to tip the balance.
Yeah.
Where they're like, you know what? Fuck all of these people.
Yep.
They're telling me, they're just speaking down to me every day. I'm not interested in it. They're trying to unfairly weight the balance of coverage and information flow in this country. And so therefore, this is a message to them.
Well,
too.
and it's not just on the Trump-specific content, which I agree was egregious,
Yeah.
ridiculous. But everything the Democrats said in the run-up to this election was a bald-faced lie.
Yeah.
You look at some of the verbatims from some of the interviews they did of undecided voters in the swing states in the New York Times, and they published all of those after the election.
Yeah.
And it is a really interesting little view of how some of these people processed all that information in the last 2 weeks of the election. You had a lot of women in these swing states who were looking at these abortion ads that the Democrats were running, and they're like, that's just, I had a emergency situation where I was miscarrying, and this ad is telling me I'm not going to be able to get health care, and I know that's a lie because it happened to me.
Because I did it.
Because it happened to me. And those people were so offended by how just like incredible it was that they would lie.
Also treating them as though they're a stovepipe cylinder of information where you couldn't possibly care about the illegal immigration issue. You couldn't concern yourself with the economy. It's like, well, I'm just here to preserve. And every time, hold on, let me just do an aside. My favorite part is when you get the knee jerk from the left about like women's issues. Women's issues. The only thing that means is abortion.
Yeah.
They're not talking about issues that actually affect women uniquely. If you were talking about that, I don't know, crime might be one of them.
Yeah.
Sexual assault might be one of them. Like all of the things that they're talking about as women's issues are abortion.
Yeah.
And it's just, and so like the idea that you're not concerned at all about the economy, the health and well-being of your family, your community, the safety of the people around you, but you want to preserve the right of future generations to abort their children.
So
it's basically the message that they have.
I have a theory on this, and it is that they treated the general election audience the same way they would treat a Dem primary
election
audience.
Yeah.
And the reason why they did is they treat their primary universe, the Democrats, like dog shit.
Oh, totally.
Like terrible. Like, here's this dog food. You're going to go ahead and eat it.
Yeah, you don't have any other
in front of you. You got
options.
no other option. And they did that when they didn't have a real primary, and they shuffled out old Joe and they put in Kamala Harris. And they didn't give him any say in the process entirely. And then they ran a primary election in the general. And they ran the most outrageous abortion ads in a general election that would be more aimed at a primary universe.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't credible. They didn't believe it.
You're totally right. And it applies to other issues, right? It's the dishonesty, the intellectual dishonesty that Democrats use about immigration, illegal immigration, the border. That somehow, because this is affecting Latino people, that Latino people certainly can't be concerned about an illegal act that's ravaging their communities because somebody looks like me. I mean, that is the most insane,
It's insane.
craziness.
It applies to the economy too.
Yeah.
People are like, wait a minute, my groceries are more expensive, and then you had the mainstream media telling them, no, the economy's much better than you
and
think.
inflation's good.
Exactly. Right.
So you had all of that, and then the constant barrage of leaks, which, you know, at some part they would sort of give you innuendo that this is like in the inner circle of the deep state. You know, people understand what's going on, and they're vitally concerned. Turns out it was all like Adam Schiff.
Right.
Yep.
You know, and they were just like blowing through news cycle after news cycle by some clown in the House of Representatives, putting out like absolute untruths,
Straight up lies.
as if they were sourced from infallible information sets. I mean, that's what we had.
And that's the other thing is I hope there's justice done on all those, deep state folks who signed this letter being like, oh, Trump is dangerous. Trump is going to sign things that are going to start World War III. We've now seen the exact opposite of where we saw under President Trump an era of peace and prosperity while he's getting undermined by all these clowns.
Right.
Being like,
Well,
oh no,
and
Hunter laptop is fake and Trump is actually run by Putin.
He's
Like,
been president-elect for like, you know, a week and a half, and Russia's all of a sudden, yeah, we'll negotiate. I'm interested in that, you know. And you get the Iranians like, oh boy, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
here?
I mean, they
Hamas
literally
is like,
tried to
where do
kill
we settle?
yeah.
Right.
I just still love, maybe I just keep going back to the Bush transition because it's making me think about transitions. But I remember that campaign of like the worst thing Bush is going to do is he's going to cut Medicare. Or there might be entitlement reform.
It was like the largest expansion of Medicare in history.
And then this year's, you're electing literally Hitler. That's a little entitlement reform. The Third Reich.
In 2012 is the whole binders full of women.
Yeah,
He's
that's
like
right.
an intern women. Yeah, it's like, yeah, Mitt Romney's definitely, that's on his agenda. No, I mean, so anyway, they're doing this, and they're doing it a little bit as a slow roll. It obviously doesn't happen on the front pages of these newspapers, or you'd have heard about it, but we're going to tell you about that here. Also, just want to remind you, next Thursday, it's what we do here on the Variety program. I think the moment that we sort of became a big deal was our first Thanksgiving Day spectacular.
Yeah. Tradition unlike any other.
And we let our hair down a little. And
You roll out the inflatable Kyle, you know.
yeah,
Kyle
For
Rittenhouse.
the OGs.
that was the OG.
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that episode, the Thanksgiving episode, is not an episode. It's a pep talk.
Yeah.
It's a guide for how to deal with your liberal relatives on Thanksgiving. So it's a different feel. It's going to be very high energy.
It's the one place, and everybody does holidays differently, but more likely than not, you spend it with family. Mm-hmm. And when you do, you don't pick your family. And sometimes people have some ideas. Mm-hmm. So for those who have left of center ideas, we have some ideas for you. And it starts with those napkins, by the way. Thank you for the literally thousands of people who have ordered the napkins that need to go on your table.
Oh, those are going to be terrific.
Because you're going to love every minute of that. But we've got a lot more. So do not miss that. If there's one episode in a calendar year that you do not miss, it's a short episode, about 30 minutes, but it's unmissable. Unmissable. Next Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. With all that, we're going to get back to how they're undermining this agenda and this president, and starting right now, and we'll get to all of that right after this.
This holiday season, millions of families across America will rely on credit card rewards to visit their loved ones. So why are D.C. politicians trying to pass a bill that would end credit card rewards, making it more expensive for families to be together? The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill is a big government handout to corporate megastores that makes them more money, but eliminates travel rewards for you. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
So, listen, what's captivated the news media over the last week and a half is President Trump moving rather expeditiously to fill out his cabinet. You recall that in 2017, it took a little bit of time. They had some transition issues they wanted to work out. You had a president who didn't spend any time in government. He was trying to figure out who he could trust, who he didn't. Some of that didn't work. Some of it did work. Got the big stuff right. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, they know what they're doing and who they want this time around. And so you've seen this very, very quick announcement of cabinet secretaries and everything else. Well, you might wonder how the people who currently inhabit those jobs are dealing with all of that. Not well. Not well, as it turns out. This is from Politico. Raimondo's new mission, leave no cash for Trump. Let me explain what Politico has to say about this. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is on an urgent mission. Get as much high-tech spending out the door before Donald Trump takes office. The Biden administration is aiming to commit nearly every unspent dollar in its $50 billion microchip subsidy program before President-elect Donald Trump takes over in January, an effort that would effectively cement a massive industrial legacy before the GOP can reverse its course.
Can I take 1 second there?
Yeah.
Okay, Ashbrook, you're an expert on this. Look at how they have framed this, saying that this is high-tech spending to solidify a massive industrial legacy.
Right.
What has it? How many billions did they spend on trying to get high-speed broadband to rural areas in this country?
Or how many charging stations?
Yeah,
enough.
All of that has resulted in zero broadband access. All that spending was what, one EV charging spending or EV charging station when they spent billions and billions of dollars. There was a calculation done that they could have issued a Starlink system to every single American in rural America, and it would cost less than half of what they've earmarked.
Right, and instead people are left with higher egg prices and milk
Bingo.
prices because of it. The thing that caught my attention in this article, fellas,
I love
is
when
this
he does
line.
this.
Raimondo said she recently directed staff to work through the weekend. Now, we're talking about federal employees who have not come into the office for a full week since the pandemic happened. And
Halloweens and pandemics?
Right. She's like, they're heroes working through the weekend. The one time they're going to work through the weekend is to try to spend taxpayer money
Your
before
money.
Trump gets in.
Your money.
And what does that tell you about how the Democrats think about the will of the people or the importance of elections? That there's a clear mandate that was sent to Washington from this last election, and they're like,
Don't do this.
Don't do this. We got to. It's basically like when people get indicted on Wall Street and they start pulling out the shredding machines and taking all the documents and putting them through the shredder. They're like, we got to get rid of all the evidence. Let's spend all the money.
It's like weird that they booked a trip to a non-extradited country. That's strange.
So I'm a conspiracy theorist on this one, and I have no reason to. But Raimondo said she's not overly concerned about budget-conscious Republicans clawing the money back from the program next year. So the money's still going to be there. So is this just a because I'm thinking we might be in the wrong industry, fellas. I think we should start a microchip subsidy program. Because is it just rewarding some friends on the way out the door? Because a lot of these folks who are now going to be unemployed are going to want to be, the senior vice president for not going into work and getting a job because I got you part of the $50 billion microchip subsidy program from Commerce on my way out the door.
McDaniel, that would have been a good plan. Right up until you chose to sit at this dais, where the friendship piece of where the Biden administration sees you is non-existent. They're not going to be.
Gina Raimondo, if you're listening, I'm here.
I'm here under duress. No, but what it reminds you of is like the Solyndra situation, what you saw under Barack Obama, where they had these massive allotments of new energy money that the administration took. And instead of like doing the mission statement, which I vehemently disagree with the mission statement, but the mission statement in and of itself was investing in areas where new development could be applied broadly across the United States and you could reduce your carbon footprint. Like, I think that's fucking nonsense, but that's what the mission statement of the legislation that granted them this money would do. Instead, what they did is find like every bundler to the Obama administration, every well-connected, politically elite Democrat, liberal Democrat, anywhere in the country who'd ever said anything nice about Barack Obama. And they gave out these massive federal grants to these organizations. The most famous was Solyndra, an abjectly corrupt company that ultimately went totally bankrupt because they didn't produce anything. But that's what this is. If you think that they're like spending the microchip money,
right?
Because we all have a collective understanding that microchips domestically sourced is important to get your reliance off of China. Nope, that doesn't concern them at all. And by the way, that would be under no threat from Donald Trump. Let me assure you. What would be under threat is giving it to your Democratic donors.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why this sucker is going out the door.
That's it.
Right. That's why there's a cash bonfire going on.
I mean,
over there.
remember, we have evidence of this sort of double dealing from the Democrats. Jennifer Granholm, energy secretary.
In recent years.
You remember she didn't divest from this electric bus company, and Matt Foldy, friend of the program, did a whole write up on it and forced her to have to sell her stock in the company. I mean, this is the regular
what was
course
the name
of
of
business.
that outfit?
I don't know. The Failure
Green Bus
LLC.
Explosion.
Explosion.
I mean, it didn't work. I think it ultimately went belly
Actually,
up.
we blame Foldy because Granholm then had to divest high, and then the thing collapsed.
Yeah.
So Foldy actually saved her millions of dollars. Sorry, Foldy, we love you.
Oh, it's totally true. So, I mean, look, when Trump administration takes the reign, Trump nominated Howard Lutnick, who, for my money, has done as good a job as anybody who's not involved in politics at explaining in layman's terms what the Trump economic American first agenda is. Like, this guy explains tariffs and the rationale and the history of it better than anybody. So I love this appointment. I think it makes a lot of sense.
And the guy is a hero. Like his firm that he owns, Cantor Fitzgerald, suffered devastating losses on September 11th. And he's done so much for the families there. I mean, he's known in New York as a hero.
Yeah, totally.
They did a whole documentary about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's going to walk in and there's not going to be a dime left in the place. And be like, oh, sorry, it's fucking Weinberg or whatever. What was the guy? Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein's made off with the bag. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize to you, Mr. Lutnick. Anyway, they're not done there. This is according to the Press Herald. What the hell is the Press Herald? Do we know what the Press Herald is? I don't know.
This was a late edition.
Spaghetti, did you do this Press Herald?
It's a Drew.
this is of course Drew is doing this. The Press Herald. No idea what this publication. It could be pure fiction, but here's what it says.
Well, it just could be New Hampshire, right? Isn't it Press Herald New Hampshire?
I mean, both of those are like types of reporting, so
Yeah.
it's legit. It sounds legitimate.
Press and Herald. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could be reading one of these Dem 501c4 outfits. But it, be that as it may, Biden rushing to finalize liberal policies and spend billions. The underlying point of the headline we know because we've been involved in watching all of these things because we do this for a living. We watch what it is that an administration is trying to do. What they say is the Biden administration officials are working against the clock, doling out billions in grants and taking other steps to try to preserve at least some of the outgoing president's legacy before Donald Trump takes office. Let me give you a couple of examples that they cite, and then we can talk more specifically about it. Getting infrastructure spending out of the door. So remember, they did two things. One was what we just talked about, that CHIPS Act, where they're doling out money. We just heard from Raimondo about how they intend to thoughtfully handle your money on that front.
Nobody has a microchip.
The second was infrastructure, which again is an issue that has like broad bipartisan support.
Yeah, they've done a great job with that bridge in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's they just need more money that they didn't already allocate for it. It's gonna be great.
So Mayor Pete, Boot Edge,
Well qualified for the position.
Boot Petajudge, as we've said here on the program. He's announced over $3.4 billion in grants for projects designed to improve passenger rail service,
Choo-choos.
help U.S. ports, reduce highway deaths.
By not supporting autonomous vehicle production and deregulation on that, except so it's essentially causing more accidents.
Yeah.
But whatever.
And support domestic manufacturing of sustainable transportation materials. You know what that means? That means it's like, I don't know, let's just have China will figure it out.
That's it.
I'm just imagining cars made of wood.
Wood.
Like whittling your cars.
A whittled car of wood. Anyway, they're speeding up their environmental goals. Announcements of major environmental grants and project approvals have sped up in recent months in what the White House officials describe as sprinting to the finish. Biden's term. The Environmental Protection Agency recently set a nationwide deadline for removal of lead pipes and announced nearly $3 billion to help local water systems comply. The agency also announced that oil and gas companies for the first time will have to pay a federal fee if they emit dangerous methane above certain I love that. Above certain levels.
You know what I love about this, and if you're one of those like liberals who hate listens to this show, and I hope there are many of you.
Yeah, just suck on
But
it.
like, what does it say? What does it say about your party and movement that the only way it gets them off their asses to lose an election?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
haven't
like,
done anything.
Yeah, can't remove the lead pipes until we're gonna get kicked out of office. Like, what the fuck does that say about how much they give a shit
good
about
point.
you?
That's a good
Everyone
point.
collectively loses their mind about that incident that we had in Lansing that was at the
Flint.
beginning, Flint, Michigan, at the beginning of the Biden administration, and now at the 11th hour, they're like, "Shit, we got to spend some."
I mean,
stuff.
maybe they should have actually cleaned up East Palestine. I don't see that in here anywhere.
Yeah.
That's not on the
Right.
to-do
Well,
list.
Interesting.
that's not. They voted the wrong way, McDaniel.
Oh,
They
that's
voted the
right.
wrong
That's
way.
right. They voted
Those-
the wrong way.
Those people welcomed President Trump, so they get nothing. The Energy Department, meanwhile, announced $544 million loan to a Michigan company to expand manufacturing of high-quality silicon carbide wafers for electric vehicles.
Delicious.
Okay, that loan is one of 28 deals totaling $37 billion
Jeez, it just-
granted under a clean energy loan program that was revised and expanded under Biden. Lastly,
This one.
student loan forgiveness. The Education Department, which President Trump has thoughtfully decided to dismantle, which, by the way, Linda McMahon's got to feel sort of a little conflicted about her appointment to run that organization. He's like, yeah, I'm going to shut it down, but I want you in charge of it before you do that.
Look, as somebody who like is around, people who put it's a picture of Trump and her. Both of them have gotten stone cold stunnered.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody who knows like her way around the destruction industry,
Yeah.
I think she'll be okay.
You're right. Maybe
Yeah.
that's an absolutely perfect appointment. She is a thoughtful lady. I think she's going to be great there.
Then again, this whole thing, it's like, how many times does the Supreme Court have to tell you that you're breaking the law by trying to steal money
Yeah.
from Americans who didn't take out that student loan, who didn't get that worthless major, who may not have attended college. You're going to steal their money and give it to these kids who got a PhD in basket weaving.
Yeah.
And now they want someone else to pay for it. It's an outrage.
They'll
Right.
break the law with impunity. We're seeing that right now in Pennsylvania, in Bucks County. You got commissioners who are defying the state Supreme Court to count ineligible ballots,
Illegal ballots
in the United States Senate race there. I mean, Democrats flout the law constantly in
Well,
this
they
country.
better be careful.
Yes.
You might have
People are going to
a
jail.
Justice Department that is interested for the first time in liberal
Oh, and
policies.
prosecuting crimes?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Might be interested. You never know. So what they've done in student loan forgiveness is finalize a federal rule that would cancel student loans for people who face financial hardship. And that's an interesting set of words. The proposal, one of Biden's only student loan plans that hasn't been halted by federal courts, is in a public comment period scheduled to end thoughtfully at the beginning of December. Interesting timing on all of that. But what they're trying to do is get done what you just said. The courts have stopped because it's just radically unconstitutional, everything that they've done in this front. And they're just trying to figure out how to get money out the door, your money, taxpayer
Yep,
dollars,
that's the thing. It's your money.
out because, and it's, let's be very clear, it's not about students.
Nope.
If you thought for 1 minute it was about trying to provide an education to American kids, you're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah.
It has everything to do. If it was about that, by the way, what you would do is go to a place that has a $65 billion endowment and ask them why it is that they're charging $100,000 a year to send kids there. Because it certainly isn't for the dumb fuck education that they're giving them. You would ask those questions. So it's not about the education, not about the material. It's not about whether they care about the kids at all. It's about supporting the educational complex.
Yep.
About this liberal institution that has become a mouthpiece and the thought leader of the entire Democratic Party. It's why they got their asses kicked.
Right.
So I'm happy that they're still invested.
Yeah,
in
where
it.
did CRT come from? Where did DEI come from? It came from this failure of an education system that nobody asks. What is the ROI?
What is it?
What is it?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Won't someone please think of the middle manager at the DEI department at Harvard? Won't someone please think the
Right now, there are a lot of white people who are in that middle manager role who are calling Latino men in this country racist right
Yeah.
now. I mean, that is the funniest thing about it.
And
is
that's
hilarious.
it's a really valid point, is because you see the skyrocketing cost of education. They never look at, I mean, this is the Democrat thing across the board. They never look at why things cost how much they do. Their solution has always been, let's just rob and juice taxpayers more for their money. They don't look at how the roles that have been filled, the cost is going up for college and all across this country because they're hiring these administrators, these middle manager types who want put in DEI programs, CRT programs. They have to pay their salaries, and that's why college is getting so
There
expensive.
you go.
Yeah,
that's right.
There you go. And then you go shake down the corporations. Corporations have to employ the movement. The movement then gets back into the higher education system, funds the propaganda,
Yep.
and then you go back to the corporations and you say, like, look, it'd be a shame if something happened to your company.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the mafia.
It's the
It's
mafia.
a mafia
It's
model.
an extortion racket.
It really is. And so the final thing that they're doing is they're trying to confirm a bunch of judicial picks. Now, this one I find sort of hilarious in that for years, Democrats missed the boat on this. And like we worked for a guy in McConnell where he was like watching this. If you ever had the opportunity to absolutely rat fuck him, you take it. And so he was majority leader for 2 years leading into Trump's first term. And he just simply wouldn't bring up federal court positions. Just wouldn't bring them up. So there was this massive vacancy that was available. And so he presented President Trump with the opportunity to totally reshape all of the courts. And now we've seen the downstream effect of that, right? You've got a huge Supreme Court. You've got a bunch of federal courts that are like installing some reason. Like the reason that these student loan things are all going tits up is basically because you've got a court system that actually understands, interprets the law rather than just creates it as liberals would like them to do. So we did that, and they got really upset.
I mean, Merrick Garland's a prime example of this by being like,
Yeah, no thanks.
You're not going to get a vote.
Return to sender. Right? So they got real upset. They understand. So now they're like, oh, so how do we go about doing this? So you see this rush happening in the Senate to try to confirm a bunch of stuff. the bad news is they're going to be able to do. They have a majority and they have a Democratic president, so they're going to be able to do quite a few things without. But you can make them burn clock, which is what Republicans are doing, making them take as much time on each nomination as you can. But ultimately, if they have 51 votes, they're going to confirm these people. That sucks. But you just got to run as much clock. The good news is not a lot of circuit stuff. The big jobs in comparison to where they were in 2017. Like, they're filling a lot of undercards here.
Yeah, district courts.
Yeah. A lot of federal court, a lot of district court stuff. And it's just not, it is what it, look, I wish it wouldn't happen at all. But, like, of all the things that we just listed, that's the one you really can't control. So our question to all of you as you're looking at all of this, like, what do you think Trump should do on day one in reaction to this?
Good question.
I got ideas.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a lot of ideas.
I think our audience does too.
And I think you do too.
But
And
I mean, I haven't read Project 2025, but I hope we do it.
the best part, nobody's read it. I'm told it says pretty aggressive stuff,
Yeah,
though.
it sounds like it's got him scared. Let's just do the thing.
Do
Let's
you guys
the
have
Project 2025?
Do you guys have all your wives enlisted in the menstrual documentation
Download
project?
the app.
Yeah, download it. We got to track all those things. That's Project 25.
Shit's all tracked in the Aura Ring, so it's fine. Or the Nurture app, I mean, we've been doing that shit forever.
And before we get comments, yes, the Press Herald is from Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Portland,
Okay,
Oregon.
so it is a real publication.
Yeah.
Well, if
So it is
Portland-
a left-wing
if Portland's a real
organization.
place, but yeah.
But it's surprising that they wrote that,
Dude,
right?
Portland, Maine is a beautiful
Oh, is it
place.
Maine and not
Yeah.
Oregon?
No, it's Maine.
It's Maine. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, there's some
Okay.
thoughtful people in Portland,
I
Maine.
think it is.
apologize deeply to the good people of with the lobsters and all kinds of stuff up there.
A lot of good
Beautiful
things.
country in the summer.
Yes,
Anyway,
it's
Yeah, it's Maine.
so let us know. How would you recommend that Trump sort of counteract all of these things that are happening? We will read all of that as long as you like and subscribe. And we will get back after this with your comments from Tuesday's episode right after this.
All right, so I just got to point out that my friends at Americans for Prosperity made a huge difference this year. AFP volunteers made millions of voter contacts, which is absolutely mind-blowing. They are the largest, most effective ground game operation in the country to defend and advance the conservative movement. But now that the election is behind us, the hard work of turning electoral victory into policy wins begins. And the grassroots army with Americans for Prosperity will again be in the thick of it. We have an incredible opportunity next year to get the country back on track, but it means we're all going to have to roll up our sleeves and get to work. If you're ready to join a winning team making a difference across the country, check out my friends at AFP, and you can learn more at americansforprosperity.org.
So our question on Tuesday was about that great piece of news that the Trump administration press office was going to start granting media passes in the White House press area to unconventional new media outlets.
People who are honest with their audience.
People who are on people like the Ruthless Variety program.
And I mean, I think everyone's takeaway correctly for a lot of folks from this election was it was the podcast election. Like the mainstream media, like you were saying earlier, has lost the trust of the people. Voters know, okay, I don't want Nora O'Donnell spitting lies at me for 30 minutes. They'll tune in to Rogan. They'll tune in to here at Ruthless. And it was the podcast election.
I have heard many people are saying it was the podcast election.
Yeah.
I think, did you come up with that?
I created the term.
Yeah.
Smug
It
invented
seems
it.
like that. It seems there's no question in my mind.
Yeah.
I've heard it from a couple of people now.
Right.
Anyway, so our question was, should they kick the mainstream media out of the whole thing altogether? Interesting set of comments.
Comments were great.
Interesting. But as we always do, we start with the voice.
Okay, first comment comes from Liz Larson, and Liz writes, I don't think that MSM should be kicked out of the briefing room, but they should not be given preferential treatment. I wonder if there's a way to incorporate long-distance partnerships or participants, like allowing Megyn Kelly and others to zoom into the briefing and ask questions.
Not a bad idea.
Love the program. Thank you, Liz.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, they get it.
And nobody interrogates somebody like Megyn Kelly.
Oh, she's tough.
Nobody.
You know.
And I mean, imagine, like, you wouldn't like her standing. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If
Yeah.
she's got a question, you better answer it.
Yeah.
You
She's
better
tough.
answer it. All right, comment 2, old man.
This is from Sherwood Peters. Great name, by the way, Sherwood.
Yeah.
Future Q&A interactions with the press secretary should be an X platform internet event open to any blue check verified X user.
Dude, that's a great idea.
Yeah, great idea.
Traditional mainstream media should have no more priority than emerging news sources. If a source is chosen to submit a question, the question must be less than 25 words. A staff member reads the questions, and the press secretary's replies are broadcast. Reporters aren't the story. They are never pictured or heard from.
I mean,
That's so good.
I actually love that because it goes at the whole Jim Acosta problem.
that is reporters are not the story. God,
They get it.
That should be put on a plaque in that room.
They get it.
I know it. Gosh, that's so good. That's great. Smug, what do we got for the third comment?
This is from David Hitzer. David writes, I think all journos with press room creds should be under review for a couple of weeks. Then replace a couple of high-minded troll journos with podcasters.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
how about high-minded trolls? String this out, perhaps another round of replacements. Keep these clowns stirred up. While they report on themselves and their angst, get some shit done. Not trying to hide anything, but who needs the backbiting?
Titzer's got it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Big
Titzer.
Titzer.
the amount of like time that's wasted in that press room with reporters trying to make themselves the story is just so tiring, and the American
Yeah.
people are clearly sick of it.
I imagine David went through high school just psyched about his last name, by the way. You know, like your boys are going to have a good time with that.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's no ignoring that.
I mean, Titzer's the life of the party.
I mean, that's why he has such thoughtful comments. Nothing but confidence out of Titzer.
I mean, who can hate Titzer?
You can't. You just can't. I have one, a person who you all know, and probably many of you listening know, but I
Oh.
told him I would keep them anonymous, who's lived in this world and done these things, and
Is he the lodestar of the program?
he's not in Halloween's or pandemics.
You're not going to say his name, but it sounds like Burgum.
Yeah, I wish it was. I would definitely
How does he
out
look
him.
on a horse?
I would definitely out him if it was. It is not. But this is, spent time in these places, and this is how he would do it. I thought this was pretty thoughtful. Despite the fact that I like and subscribe, I'm unable to publicly opine at the moment, but I'll answer today's question. Kicking them out would create unworthy martyrs. Better to dramatically restrict the number of credentials available to the WHCA. That's the White House Correspondents Association. They throw a party for themselves. The only time you've heard of them is when they throw a party for themselves.
It's the White House Criminal Association. They should all
every-
be in jail.
every
Every last
spring.
one, jail, beaten in jail, thrown in Gitmo.
That would make room for new media reps, like the Ruthless Friday program, force the bankrupt WHCA into choosing amongst their horrible lib journos, right? And the White House directly credentials new media types, seats them at the front, and calls on them first.
I know. I know who wrote this. I know.
It's a thoughtful person.
They
Yeah.
teach the legacy media how to behave, and everyone wins.
Start a brand new association called the People's Media Association.
Where pretty thoughtful.
That's
Ashbrook should
very
run
thoughtful.
that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like that would probably do the trick.
Because they are right that like these journos would love to make themselves a martyr.
Oh,
like,
it would be nothing
no,
but they
Truth
would be
has
the-
been kicked out of the press room.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
That's a
it'd
good-
be
what
like
was that old bag that they sat in the front row for like 40 years? And Helen Thomas, was that her name?
Yeah.
She sat in the
She was a horrible person.
and every time it called her, she was like, "Well, tell me about like climate change,
Just a
and
horrible
how you're
person.
abusing the illegals." And like,
Right.
I mean, it was just.
And Gitmo's such a big facility. There's so much space for these
I
people.
know, and we've cleared out plenty of cots.
For Smug.
Yeah, you're going there too.
You're going to.
Yeah, I talked to Rubio's people. He's got an eye on you. You better stay fleet of foot.
He can try. I will always stand with the people. So it's up to him. Your move.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. So, look, we talk about this with some frequency because we think it actually embodies a larger piece of what we're dealing with in American Renaissance and a belief in this country again. And not this, as you said, I think quite aptly, Duncan, this Marxist ideology that we're all in the decline and like you just need to manage it, essentially. And that is best embodied in a lot of ways by what is happening at SpaceX with Elon. Can we play clip 1, please, Spaghetts? So this is President Trump, who's at a launch of the latest rocket this week. And he's peering across a body of water at this launch.
Hell yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's this like big,
The largest
majestic-
man-made object ever put into,
Largest man-made object. Wow.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by far.
Starship
Yeah.
is-
Starship is enormous. It's like putting the Statue of Liberty on top of a booster.
Hmm.
That's how big it is.
And like the town that Elon has built, it's called Rocket Town, USA now. You can see that Starship from outside city limits. That's that's the size of these rockets that are going up.
That's incredible. So it's 400 feet tall. You're right. It's the 6th test flight that they've had of this thing. It's the most powerful rocket ever built, designed for missions to the moon, Mars, and beyond.
Can we get that image that Don Jr. put up?
Is this graphic
I mean,
one?
Oh, yeah.
that's it right there.
Yeah, look
That's
at that.
compare that to Kamala talking to the children, and she was a space star. Remember, she was talking to
yeah.
the scripted children. Compare that to what we're seeing here. For those of you who are listening, is Trump with the giant, largest rocket ever made. In one photo.
I mean, look, it
That's the
doesn't
thing,
need
it's-
a lot of commentary. Like it just speaks for itself.
It's so inspiring, and the thing is this overarching idea of the kind of hope and optimism that you get, because like we've been discussing for so long, the Democrats have been of this mindset of deceleration, of, oh, well, look, everyone, you have to stop eating meat. You have to stop driving cars.
Yeah.
You have to stop owning a car. You will own nothing. Like that. Literally, they put out, with WEF, this "you will own nothing" movement of, well, look, humanity has to get smaller. Like all across the board, they've just said we are a doomed people. We have to go back to living like cavemen, and that's wrong. This country is built and has accomplished so much because we believe we can accomplish big things.
Gosh,
we can
well
go bigger.
said.
We can put the first person on the moon, and we have that spirit back with President Trump. When you see that image, that's the exact vibe I want for this country. Of we're going forward. We're going to do incredible things. This economy is going to boom. We're going to build amazing things. The future is so bright, and it just seeing that image right there makes me feel better as an American.
Well
I'm gonna
said,
run
buddy.
through a brick fucking wall.
Yeah.
into
It's
that,
so awesome, man. It just feels great.
Thanks, Newt Rockney. I mean, that's some
It
stuff.
feels so good seeing this because for so long the Democrats have told the American people our best days are behind us, and that's a lie.
Yeah. No, good. Look, well said, and a good summation of all of that. It's time to play some games.
Yes.
Let's
All
play a
right?
game.
All right, let's play a game. We're going to play the flagship game here on the Ruthless Friday program, which is King of the Hill. For those listeners who've just joined us over the last couple weeks and trying to make what it is that we are doing here, make sense of it. These are people who, at one point in their lives, considered themselves Republicans. Trump broke their brains. Broke it maliciously and with intent. And they went very compliantly towards a life of, I think, psychiatric help.
Yeah.
And
Or lack thereof.
Like they're yeah.
but they still make their opinions known. And so we have chosen to play games with it. We choose contestants of these people. We play off who's got the craziest takes. Best 2 out of 3 wins.
Okay.
King of the Hill.
Yep.
So I'm the champion. I got Smoking Joe Walsh, former congressman from Illinois. This guy was an idiot before he became a Democrat. Now he's really dumb.
Now can you imagine?
Yeah, now he's really dumb. So we've got.
We're not sending our best.
It does like give you a little bit of pause when you're like, yeah, just our ticket down. Like I've never voted for a Democrat in my life, but then you see at some point in your voting history, like I obviously didn't live in this guy's district, but if he showed up, I probably would have voted for him because he was an R. Not your best vote.
Yeah.
Not your best vote.
But I mean, what a great trade we've had here over these last 8 years. Like we gave the Democrats Joe Walsh and we got Joe Rogan, and Tulsi
Great
Gabbard
Great point, dude.
Yeah.
Great point.
and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Great
And
point.
and they got our bench warmers.
Oh no, we lost Liz Cheney, though,
Oh,
guys.
no.
We lost Liz.
What challenging Joe Walsh today will be Cherry, my Cherry.
oh, you son of a
Jacobus.
beeswax.
Yes.
She's the toughest out. I can only imagine what she's been up
This is
to.
gonna be a good one.
Holy cats.
And I'm bailiff, and I'm going to be an active bailiff. And then Smug, of course, is judge. So
Very fair.
I think we should be going ringside.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting from her own Twitter account, Kami Cherry Jacobus. And now, in the blue corner, fighting on his own, from his Twitter account, where did you come from? Where did you Joe Woj?
I love it. You settled on a new one.
Is that a new one? I'd never heard that
No,
one.
he's used that one before.
Yeah.
Where did you come from, Joe?
Well,
That's-
last time you were like, I'm not ever really sure what to do with that guy, but I
Yeah.
think you've settled into a groove.
I think it works.
Where did you come from? Where did you Joe?
it's great.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so I'm the champion. I play first. I feel like this perfectly, and I'll pull the exhibit in a second, but I feel like this perfectly encapsulates everything that is the never Trump former conservative. Which, if you dig under the psychology of it, really they are what they are only because they've lost entire relevance whatsoever.
Yeah.
Their monetary ability, their political susceptibility, everything is gone from them. So, they just blame one guy for it. Let's bring up Exhibit 4, please. No, damn it. I won't move on from him. All capitals.
What?
All capitals, folks. Now, generally speaking, for people of faith, you take a look at that, and that means something different to most people.
Right.
Certainly not for somebody like Joe Walsh. He goes on. I've moved on from the election, but I'll never move on from him.
Oh man.
Who is the him he's talking about there?
I mean, this is really prime example of Trump broke you, dude.
Oh, my God.
Good God.
It is just, it's like a thesis statement. I don't know if I would improve a single word.
That's strong. That's pretty strong.
Sounds like Taylor Swift lyrics, actually.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
that's good.
Okay.
Joe Walsh tweet or Taylor Swift lyric. That's the next game.
That's a good game.
My first exhibit here, please, Spaghettis, is exhibit number 9 for Cherry Jacobus. And you'll see she is quote tweeting Wajahat Ali, who is talking about moving on from Morning Joe. Of course, in the wake of the Morning Joe going down to meet with President Trump, Cherry Jacobus writes, everyone should. For fuck's sake, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, F Joe and Mika. She's not happy about Morning Joe going to meet with President Trump, and therefore she will never watch again. She
never
wants
get
something
tired.
more liberal.
Never get tired of the infighting we've seen here since
It's so
Election
good.
Day. It's the greatest content we have.
So good.
It's amazing.
They met with a president of the United States.
Yeah. How dare you normalize this guy who previously was president for 4 years?
Do not congratulate.
It's really something like, you saw in the wake of Joe and Mika, and as we gave originally reporting on, that essentially Joe and Mika went down to Mar-a-Lago begging Trump, don't send us to Gitmo. Like, they were scared.
They actually thought
they
that
really
they were
thought
gonna
that they were
be
going to
interned.
send to jail.
Yeah. Like Japanese internment camp
Yeah, they
style.
thought they were going to be jailed, and
Which I
the
feel
me-
like you did a nice job of articulating a reason why that should be in place.
Yeah, I would support that. The Project 2025 agenda. But that's funny, but the way Joe Walsh really just lays bare that this is a mental problem that everyone is seeing in action. I will never move on from him. I know Sherry's got some heat.
Him.
She'll have something better coming up, but first round's got to go to Joe on that one.
I will
was
never
solid.
move on from him.
See, it's like a Taylor Swift song. These guys
really
have a
is.
breakdown.
Okay, so Cherry leads off round 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exhibit number 12, please, Spaghettis. Cherry Jacobus writes, Putin commandeering Trump cabinet picks as
Jesus.
performance art for the rest of the world to show he does indeed own Trump. Similar to when he ordered GOP senators to Moscow for the 4th of July, Putin was showing off to other world leaders, quote, look, I control the American GOP, close quote.
This is insanity. Man. This is actual insanity in action. That's what we're seeing here. Good God.
Boy, that might change my methodology here a little bit.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, you'll need a strong one. That is just, good God. After all these years to still stick with the whole Russian collusion nonsense.
It's tough.
I'm going to need a submission.
Okay.
Contestant.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Bailiff is right.
All right, so I like this one because of just how hilarious of a parody this whole thing is. Exhibit 6, please. I spoke today with a class of students at Howard University.
What?
Talked about the election, their fears and their concerns, and what they can do these next 4 years to resist and make a difference. Can't lose hope. So wait, hold on. You got multi-tiers here. First of all, Howard, you sent the crackerest cracker in the history of Middle America to an HBCU to complain about the election results?
I mean,
First of all, he knows nothing. I mean, if you've proven anything over the last 4 years, it's that this guy has no particular insights whatsoever. So it's not like you brought him to a higher education university to like get the real insights of the election, what's behind it. So really, it's just there to complain, which he goes on to say. Like basically, we talked about their fears.
but he said, last time we played this game, it's so schizophrenic. Like last time we played this game, he's like, my political career is over. He's like, becoming a Democrat as a Republican is career suicide. And then this week he's like, do not lose hope.
But this is the best. This is the best. Like the can't lose hope thing is like I guess he's turned the page.
Apparently.
On that. But my favorite is the line before where he says he's talking to a group of students.
Mm-hmm.
Students. These are people in college, and what they can do these next 4 years to resist and make a difference. Like you're talking about a completely monolithic population where your only goal here is to make sure that you resist everything that
I love that he thinks it's Dead Poet Society.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Also, like,
student stood up on the desk.
Can you imagine a worse captain than this?
That's the thing is,
scoundrel.
like, what is the thinking for the like professor who's doing this? Like, and today's guest, Joe Walsh. Like, this is worse than when your teacher's lazy and rolls in the TV and VCR like it's video day. Because at least then you know, okay, this is where I put my head down and take a nap.
Yeah.
But now you have to listen to this dude who's having a mental breakdown.
It totally is the substitute that breaks the VHS out.
It's like, what the hell is happening?
Maybe it was a psychology class. Did they bring him in as a specimen?
That would make
it's a
sense.
clinical.
That
it's a clinical.
would be good.
Yeah.
They're like, class, we're going to see an insane person.
Yeah,
Prepare yourself.
You're gonna look at.
Send in Joe.
Here's a broken white man. Take a look at this guy.
But I mean, let's not sleep on what Sherry, my Sherry, contributed there to the 4th of July was Vladimir Putin showing off that we could control the American GOP. She's like right back to the old song sheet 8 years later. It's incredible.
Is this an advocacy from the bailiff?
Yeah, I
or
told
is
you I'm
this-
going to be active.
You know what?
I
I'll say
I
this.
thought you were enforcing the rules, not that was sounded like an amicus.
It was
think-
an amicus.
I think
unasked for.
from the court.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
within.
Yeah.
Duncan is definitely like overstepping the bounds, and he can influence the decision. And for that, I'm choosing Sherry Jacobus.
Yes.
Because if we have a bailiff who's out of pocket, it could lead to some things like this. So this is going to round 3.
No.
Round 2 goes to Sherry.
Wait.
Good work selling that one.
Wait.
Good work selling that one.
I succeeded with my activist.
Wait,
Exactly.
He said that you've overstepped your bounds and
Yeah.
you shall be rewarded.
Yeah.
Good.
This is going to be a chaotic courtroom.
What a great judge.
Listen, it's Trump's America.
Conservatives have a voice.
Yeah, let's nothing like a court that lobbies itself from within.
Yeah.
The libs have done it for a generation.
All right, so we got some precedent on the Russia thing, somehow, whatever. And for that reason, I will choose Exhibit 3, please, because this is a perfect encapsulation of today of the Never Trump universe. No Russian bots, less extremist, more fun. Join me there. Join Bluesky at Walsh Freedom.
Oh my God.
Nice.
This
Nice.
Like, if for those of you who haven't been following this whole Bluesky thing, we talked a little bit about this on Tuesday, but what has happened to broken-brained libs is like freedom of speech just isn't going to work for them. And the problem with America is that we've heard too many opinions that are not their own.
Yeah.
And so instead of going to a place like X where everyone is, they've now created some fly-by-night organization where they can only talk to other progressive libs. The hilarity of someone who holds themselves out as a conservative resistance to Donald Trump being on Bluesky should not be lost.
and
on
this
square.
so like we've all heard of like ambulance chaser lawyers who chase ambulances looking to make money. If I'm like a psychologist or a therapist, I just do a search on X for like Bluesky. Look for people going to Bluesky. You've got a potential client. Like this is a bonanza
Yeah.
for mental health care people.
No, it honest to God is like they should actually have a pre-enrollment.
Like I can't think of a single sane person within the past month who's been like, I'm actually a normal person. I'm not a mental basket case. I'm going to Blue Sky. No one has seen that. That tweet does not exist.
Good, right, and honorable judge, comfortably smug. I think it's an important point of order here on the Blue Sky front because I think we need to set a precedent here for future games of
good
King of the
point,
Hill.
good
Oh
point.
yes.
Should
we get a ruling?
I think we need a ruling for Blue Sky.
So here's the thing: is I'd give a really famous case, something that I've been wrestling with. Is Jen Rubin has
Back in chambers.
Yeah. Well, Jen Rubin has said that like she will only post on Blue Sky now, and like I mean she is a champion
She's
of
our
champions
champion.
among
She's our
here.
champion.
So the question becomes: is Blue Sky admissible in court? I've set the precedent and with an iron fist made sure Threads posts are not admissible in court. However,
Okay.
because of the nature of the game and how we laugh at these people being crazy, I will allow Blue Sky.
Monumental
to be in-
decision.
Wow.
It's a
Monumental.
great
Game
decision.
changer.
Wow.
Great choice.
The smug court has ruled.
It is a Brown v. Board.
Wow. Dobbs, Brown, Blue Sky.
Yeah, 3 biggest cases of our time.
Wow.
That is a monumental. I will abide by that. And I'll
Yeah.
support the decision.
Yeah.
I think
Going
it's
forward.
only a thoughtful court.
Because
can come.
our listeners deserve the best, and that's where you're going to see the best breakdowns if they stay there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You're
Okay,
entirely
well, speaking
right.
of the best breakdowns and liberal lunacy, spaghetti, I would like exhibit number 13, please, from Cherry Jacobus, coping with the election aftermath. And Cherry writes, crowdsourcing here on how much canned and boxed food we should hoard.
Oh my God.
How long should we plan for? It's not just tariffs that should concern us or Elon's plans to crash the economy. There's worse than that on the horizon. Cherry Jacobus is hoarding in her basement.
Well, here's the thing:
Does
is
the weed include the cats?
that
or
was
does it
my
not?
question.
Yeah.
It's like imagine being the poor Amazon delivery guy.
Yeah.
Who's got about 70 to 80 pounds of cat food in a box.
Well, not only
He's gotta
that,
get to
imagine what
Sherry's house.
Franzia stock is going to do.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know?
Like,
I mean, that boxed wine is coming in by the U-Haul.
And it's also just funny that we went from these resistance, like Never Trump accounts being like, inflation isn't real, it's in your head, to like the election happens, now they're like, tariffs
Canned
are
food.
ruining the American economy and I need to hoard food.
And they're not even
Not even happening
even
yet.
happening.
and that line about like Elon's going to crash the economy. Can
How
we
does
get a
that
check
work
on
again?
Tesla stock?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that guy really crashes economies much.
How does that even work?
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I didn't seem like that was in the remit
Yeah.
of the Doge deal. Was the economic impact?
So,
The libs are having a hard time.
it's going to
with this
save you a
election.
couple of bucks.
I
That's
gotta
going to
say,
crash everything.
You know, congratulations to our listeners because this has been a really
It's a good
strong
game.
showdown. I mean, both of these takes,
Good
like
game.
the Blue Sky kind of mental breakdown epidemic that we're witnessing, but at the same time, I think that's something we're seeing a lot of. Someone saying that they want to know how much food they have to hoard.
No crowdsourcing.
Yeah, crowdsourcing.
No,
Like, I'd
I
like your
fully
opinion
support
on it.
I fully support the decision.
It was insanely close by a whisker, a little cat drunk on Franzia whisker.
for me. What
Sherry
I,
Jacobus takes that one, and she is the new champ.
what I would have emphasized was the crowdsourcing element.
I
of
mean,
it,
that is
as
like-
if there is like
Everyone
really
tell me
good
like,
advice out
how much
there.
canned food do I? It's amazing. It's
People are like,
amazing.
well, here's what I've done.
It's literally just engagement farming for brainworms.
The irony is all the preppers are on the right. So
Yeah, you're not getting any help.
Bad news for you guys on Blue Sky. We got you now.
Yeah.
You're now a part, thanks to a smug court, of King of the Hill going forward. So congratulations, listeners. I can only imagine that's going to improve the experience here at King of the
It's
Hill.
gonna be a lot easier to find all the takes.
Yeah, one spot, one stop shop.
Yeah.
One stop shop.
Now yous can't leave.
Yeah. The downside of that is we might single-handedly be responsible for keeping that outfit afloat.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not going to...
It'll be like watching MSNBC on election night. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, our ratings look great, and then the next day it's back in the toilet.
It's like, again, it's political red zone for conservatives. You look at it and
100%.
you're like, look at these fucking lunatics, one after another. And then just like a stray pedo deal. In the
I mean,
middle
they've had a
of it.
real problem with that on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
That is crazy, disgusting, and believable.
Well, we've got some pretty good variety here, guys.
Great variety today.
So this is knowyourmeme.com. And they come up with, on November 17th, 2024, ex-user Margot Martin, she's part of the Trump campaign, Donald Trump's former press assistant and his deputy communications chief posted a photograph of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Don Jr., RFK aboard a private flight eating McDonald's. The post reads POV, point of view, walking by the cool kids table, and garnered over 167,000 likes and 14,000 reposts in a day. Can we take a look at that? Do you guys have that one up? The original? Well, let's just go to the... So on November 18th...
The following day?
A ex-user at BoneGPT.
Good name.
Indeed.
Never not funny.
Indeed. It reposted the photograph next to an AI-generated image that he alleges to be a 1721 painting by artist Dees Newts.
No, Dees Knutson.
Dees
Knutson.
Famous German painter.
Yeah, famous.
thought it was Dutch.
Maybe Austria. Yeah, maybe Dutch.
Dutch. Yeah,
Yeah.
One of the Dutch masters.
Yeah.
Depicting men around a dinner table.
He did Dutch Oven, right? That was his famous piece.
Wait, huh?
Dietz Knutson.
Yeah,
I
it's a
feel like
famous
we've
Dutch
had
master.
too much conversation about what you do in the bedroom today. Dutch ovens is a new one. Depicting men around a dinner table in nearly identical positions as Trump, Musk, and Don Jr. and RFK, writing in 1721, painted by Dietz Knutson, predicted the Trump, Elon, RFK McDonald's dinner, and it garnered over 68,000 likes and 10,000 reposts in a day. However, Dietz Knutson is not a real artist.
You're kidding.
No.
I'm just glad the internet's a place where we can have fun again.
So I'm saying, I know it's an unpopular opinion line. I think AI art is art.
I like look at that.
That's better than most of the crap you see in museums.
Yeah, put that up one more time.
I'd look at that in a museum. If I
Put
walked
that up
by
one more-
that and someone was like, "Oh, that's a Dutch master," I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I think it is."
But like the best part of it is that like the pure cynicism and hilarity, the comical piece of this, where he's like, I know, I'll put online that like the German or Dutch version of D's nuts painted a picture, and I'll get over 68,000 likes
And
on
it
this
worked.
thing.
5.5 million views. It worked.
It worked.
He should have gotten that printed out, and some museum would have put it.
Oh,
Some museum. would put it
100%.
Yeah,
up.
but I disagree with that. Like, I think people get the joke.
Do you think they do?
I think people get the joke.
I think it's a half and half
No,
situation.
I think the people that are driving the RTs of this sort of thing get the joke. And being part of the in crowd on the joke is half the fun of being
It
on
is.
the internet in the first place.
You're right.
It's why places like Reddit exist. And like, dude, we spent the last 6 years, I would say, like halfway through Trump's first term, where like everything on the internet got policed by these fucking hall monitor, the most annoying person from your high school who now has a journalism degree being like, this is misinformation, this is disinformation.
Yep.
And they're so annoying. And for finally back to the internet of old where it was like, huh, RT. And that's what I love about this.
Yeah, no, there is, for people who have an actual sense of humor, a real relief
Yeah.
with
Yes.
stuff like this. I totally agree. So one of the things we may do, we talked about it a little bit in King of the Hill, but we may do is like a best of Bluesky libs. Mm-hmm. You know, we just go in and just take a little
Blue
sampling.
sky crying on.
Just a little sampling.
Yeah, but it's sort of like, you know, if you go and like you're taking a sample from a volcano, you have to.
Yes.
We have to wear the protective
Yeah,
suit,
100%.
and the visor so that you
Yes.
don't get burned.
And like with this stuff with the UV,
Yeah.
so your eyes don't fall out of their head.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what Spaghetti's gets suited. You should see him. He's got a literal spacesuit when he logs on.
With an Italian flag on the sleeve.
Takes 2 steps back, a bite of marinara, and in he goes.
That cheese comes out bubbling though.
So what do you come up with? The first one, it's from our queen.
So good.
And you just can't get it. Let's play clip 2, please.
You can't talk broad themes. You have to boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy?
Oh, God.
How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids.
My first reaction is like, I don't think it means what you think it means with the pithy piece of it. What you just said was horrific.
Yeah.
And also, not for nothing, but the killing of the kids, that was basically the core platform of the Democrat Party
That's
this
like,
time around.
if you're trying to say that to Dems, like the record scratches and like, wait, What? I thought that was us.
I thought we were killing kids.
That's what we're voted for, isn't it? What?
I just really appreciate like it doesn't matter anymore. You can look like just a Zoom crazy person. Like I don't even think
crazy.
I don't even think Wolf would let it happen. But like, could you zoom in all the way and get like right up? Like it's terrible. Like it's terrible optics.
Well,
like her just I don't know. For the listening audience, it is like being on a Zoom call, and they think that they can just get away with it.
Where somebody sits like 1 inch away from their camera.
Right.
And she's just going to give you that unvarnished take.
Yeah, it's like your grandma on FaceTime for the first time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're like pressed up against the head. Hello?
Republicans want to kill your children.
Hello? Is this on? It's like, dude, lady, I mean, for God's sakes, is there not some kind of a Xanax or something around? Like, good God.
Thoughts and prayers to Spaghetti having to clean up the audio on this segment.
Either you had too many or too few. There's definitely a problem there.
I mean, I just can't get enough of it. So then this next one is completely hilarious because it involves our old friend Taylor Lorenz, who is now not working. Which, by the way, Bezos still signs a check for the last lady that you signed, that you heard from, which has got to be a painful deal. Can you imagine? Well, anyway, he doesn't have to do that. This lady exceeded the previous in terms of their insanity, no longer employed at the Washington Post. But she's got a real problem with NPR. Apparently, it's a real biased organization against Democrats because they wrote that RFK Jr. wants to tackle chronic disease and despite controversial views on vaccine, his focus on healthy food and taking on special interests may find broad support and face political headwinds. It's like a news, like legitimately.
It's an objectively true thing.
Yeah, which in and of itself
Rarity
is
at NPR.
Surprising at NPR.
And then what was Taylor's take on that?
Here's her take. NPR has spent the past 3 years pushing extreme right-wing COVID denialism. So this type of headline is completely normal for them. NPR is not a reputable outlet.
Oh, my God.
This was a woman who actually held a pen at the Washington Post for a matter of years, and the New York Times before that. This is they should be incarcerated.
And here's the thing is,
like this.
and talking about COVID denialism, this is a person, Taylor Lorenz, who still wears a mask to this day.
Yeah.
In public. And but my takeaway is this is like a let them fight situation. She's like, we should defund NPR. They're not reputable. And I'm like, couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah. Bipartisan agreement
Let's
on
see
a
it
good
happen.
cause.
It's the worst person you know is right about something.
Yeah.
Graphic 5. This is Will Stansel. I'm unfamiliar with the brand of
He's
this guy.
he's another one of these Ashbrook buddies. Him and Will hang
is
out
he an
constantly.
actual? Is he?
He is.
He's
They're-
a journo?
In real life, they're friends.
Wasn't he best man at Ashbrook's wedding?
No, that was J-Mart.
Oh, Jesus.
I've never heard the name.
J-Mart was the best man at Ashbrook's wedding.
I've never heard of this guy, but apparently he's Ashbrook's best friend. He says Democrats lose because they hear voters complain about grocery prices and think we have to get grocery prices flat, and absolutely refuse to consider or realize that prices are already flat.
This insanity.
And what voters are responding to is a meme, not reality. What in the...
So this is clearly
Everly.
a guy who does not purchase eggs, because the price of eggs have at least doubled in the past 18 months. Like, you can always tell these lib takes because they think, food comes from the Uber Eats driver. They don't ever go to a grocery store. They sit in their apartment, their rundown shithole in Brooklyn, and try dropping takes like this, gaslighting the American people the same way the media tried of grocery prices aren't going up. The economy is great. You're not actually paying 2 to 3 times as much for groceries as you did a few years ago. Everything is fine. And in the face of this crushing election for libs, for him to maintain a take that no, stay on course. Tell voters everything's fine. Don't believe your lying eyes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's like the Principal Skinner thing. It's like, am I out of touch or is it the kids? And it's like, this guy is so owned by what happened on the election that he had to go to Blue Sky. This is not a tweet. This is from Blue Sky. And this guy's like, they're the ones who have an objection with reality, not me,
It's
the guy
unreal.
who literally had to go to a safe space to put words on the internet.
100% chance he's like a C4 fail sign, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Right? I mean, there's
you
no
know,
way.
Ashbrook, you hang out with this guy, right?
the pure slander of Smash.
the slander.
Is one of my favorite bits on. So look, there are other stuff. I'm not going to go into it. But like we made reference to it a week ago about how they're having a real problem with like criminal stuff, with people like self-identifying as what they call MAPs, a minor attracted person.
Oh, God.
That's actually just a pedophile.
Send the cops.
And it's illegal in all 50 states, and they should be imprisoned for life. In my view, they should probably get the electric chair. But like, there are people out and out on this platform that are just there. I mean, they're just saying that this is what this is.
It's disgusting.
Like, it's disgusting. This is the most contemptible rung of society that you can ever traffic in. So thanks again to Spaghettis for the one bite of marinara and throw on the visor and get in there and see what's going on.
Thank you for your service.
But before we leave you, this didn't happen on Bluesky, but it's worth seeing anyway.
You have to see this to believe it.
Can we play clip 3, please, Spaghetti?
Totally Julie Andrews.
That is Rosie O'Donnell.
That is 100% Julie Andrews. She has the scar right there on the back. Oh my God, this is the best moment of the last freaking 14 days or whatever number we're on. Please, everyone, believe. You know what? Julie Andrews lives.
What?
TikTok, you don't stop.
Wait, what even is she talking
she
about?
talking
I
about?
think this is.
Is there any context to that?
So she posts this on Twitter, right? So she's having this like weird mental breakdown. For folks who have not subscribed yet on YouTube, you'd want to see this on YouTube for the video. Her eyes are like red, clearly from just like crying nonstop. She says it's been 14 days or whatever since the election. She's been having
God.
this mental breakdown, right? And this like weird tick of where she's saying this like self-affirmation of like TikTok, you don't stop. Like this is what an actual mental breakdown looks like, and this is the like you get like a 72-hour hold or whatever on someone in a mental institution.
Like Baker Act type stuff?
That's right there a prime example of someone who needs to be in a padded room.
That is a tough look, by the way. I mean, this was somebody who starred in movies for a long time. That situation, unless you're doing Driving Miss Daisy Part 3, like that shit's not going to work. That is not good.
That's an actual mental breakdown.
That is not good.
That's how they're taking the election.
Oof. Thanks to Gunther Eagleman for that particular post. That was absolutely unbelievable. But remember, you got to like and subscribe. He talked about how you got to see this stuff on YouTube. If you do want to go see it, make sure you like and subscribe. It's the only way anybody else can see it. They got an algorithm out there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's unfair. I'm saying it's worked for us as long as you like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And go ahead and do that now. So remember, our question of the day is, what can President Trump do to stop the Democrat sabotage that is currently happening here in the lame duck session to try to prevent any success from this administration? We have ideas. I can't wait to get to these next Tuesday because I want to add pieces to it.
Yes.
Because I've thought about that. I've seen a number of administrations and how he would do things. And like, I think you're probably going to have the ideas, and I just want to add a little contextual piece to it too. So give us your best stuff on that. Like and subscribe while you're there. Check out some merch. Napkins. Hey, throw me one of those napkin things. You got one of those things? Oh, there, he took them back already. Of course he did.
It's very efficient.
Wolf's
That's all right.
gone.
Tuesday.
Well, they are, I think, currently sold out on the website. The ones that are here in office all have owners. They've been purchased. But I've been told we may have more left, but you're not going to know for sure until you get to that Thanksgiving episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good. And we may do a little reformat as we talked about before. Good for Christmas, good for New Year's.
You're going to want these.
Good for the 4th of July. It's
Yeah.
an all year round celebration.
And your inauguration party.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, these things are just absolutely terrific. So you got to get on those. Pick up a hat or something while you're at it. Thanks for everything that you guys do as listeners. Honestly, this has been an amazing few months. You guys have made a material difference in the direction of our country.
Yep.
We could not be more thankful for it and so happy to join you at least twice a week, 3 times in October. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep it coming. So thanks for everything. With that, Smug, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, remember, Minions, tell your friends, like and subscribe because it's better than YouTube. So until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Tuesday. Stay ruthless.